All right, there we go. Hopefully everyone can see that okay.
Looks good. I'll just give it a couple more minutes here and then we'll get started, everybody. Still letting people in here. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started here. And like I mentioned earlier, if you have to hop off at any time or cut it short, we will be recording this and we'll send a follow-up with the slides from Ryan and his team at Delta Community Credit Union. They are our friends who have done several workshops for us in the past, and we're so grateful to have them as our financial experts and partners here at Cox and Cox Automotive. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Ryan, and thank you so much for doing this for us. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys working with us over the past few years. Yeah, I'm excited this afternoon, and like Amy mentioned, my name's Ryan Behrens, and I coordinate the Financial Education Center at Delta Community Credit Union, and Delta Community is actually a benefit for the employees of Cox Automotive, where because of your employment there, you're eligible to join. So I won't go into too much detail. If you have any questions on that, let me know at the end. But it's, $5 deposit in your own savings account, and you can become a member. There's no monthly service fees for like a checking account and things like that, right? No balance requirements or stipulations like you have to swipe your debit card and things. So we are the largest credit union here in the state of Georgia. We have branches throughout the metro Atlanta area, and I think I'll mention at the very end, we do have a promotion going on. Chris Brown, yeah, Chris Brown sent it to me. Oh, there it is. He is your normal kind of representative. So if you have questions on the credit union services, please feel free to reach out to him. I'll include his contact information as well. So, but yeah, again, thank you all for joining us. I know it is almost, we're right in the middle of holiday season. It's almost Christmas, and um, wrapping up the year and everything. So it's a great time really to kind of look at our finances and, create a plan for 2022 and kind of assess where we're at, right? So, so hopefully everyone will get some value out of the webinar here today. I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I've worked as a banker. I've worked for another credit union and had a few different positions. So, um, if you have any, I'm usually pretty, informal. So if anybody has any questions throughout, please let me know. If you're muted, feel free to drop in, the comments or questions in the chat. I'll monitor that and do my best to get to them all. Um, so planning through financial uncertainty is what we're going to talk about this afternoon. Um, Uncertain financial times can be a little scary, right? I mean, we've hopefully maybe have kind of gone through the worst of it. I guess we never really know what the future holds, but back in March, April of 2020, the pandemic caused a lot of issues and displaced a lot of workers, and creating the markets kind of went down, and so it feels like we're trying to recover, but you never really know, right? I mean, um, they have the great migration, right, of workers changing jobs. More people are retiring. Um, there's different variants that kind of pop up here and there, and while I like to be optimistic, right? No one really knows kind of what the future holds, and so it's important to be prepared, right? Whether you've encountered a financial hardship and you're trying to work your way back, or whether, hey, I'm in a okay position, maybe you're doing pretty well, but you want to make sure that if an economic downturn does happen, that you'll be protected, right? Your finances will be in good shape. You want deplete savings or retirement and run up a bunch of debt or risk having to move or something like that, right? So, really want to try to talk about assessing our situation and protecting ourselves, doing the right steps to put ourselves in a good financially stable position. Because, it's important, right? The thing is we do want to plan. It's important to not just kind of sit around and wait for things to happen. Getting prepared, creating a plan to get where we want to be, will help you proactively manage, your circumstances. Um, there's probably a lot of people out there like me who are very, organized and diligent about it. Some people may be out there that, that maybe they don't look at their accounts very often and kind of hope for the best, right? There's a wide range of I think people and with different money styles. But, you know, knowing what steps to take, right? Even if you had a financial hardship, knowing, hey, it's most likely not going to be resolved overnight, kind of knowing what steps to take, what resources may be out there, that can help put you in control and alleviate stress, right? That's kind of key factors for improving your financial health. Um, it's hard when you're stressed out or worried to think clearly sometimes, right? It affects us, mentally, physically sometimes. Finances are a big stressor. So um, just by having a plan in place, kind of knowing what to do and where to go, I think will be very helpful for many people. All right, so one of the first things that you'll want to do is get organized, right? Get financially organized. Um, it is essential to good money management. It's I don't know. Again, like I mentioned, like some people may be like me who get pretty organized. Others maybe just kind of kind of go with the flow a little bit more. But now's a really good opportunity to take a little time, right? We're about to cross into 22, and to get everything in your financial life kind of in order. We recommend having a dedicated space to where you like to do or manage your finances, right? Where you pay your bills, log in, and research everything. I was able to. We kind of have a home office here, and I kind of keep everything there. I kind of do most of the stuff at the same time of day, where it's kind of built in, a habit. So I'm kind of used to it, and it's part of my routine. makes it easier to not forget things. Um, but you what you want to do is right get all of your financial information organized, whether it's paper, electronic. Like for example, you're like a bill system. Most of the time, I don't know, y'all are probably kind of like me, where most of the bills are paid online through online banking or bill pay, and that's a great system to have to manage your bills and things. Still get some paper stuff as well, right? So I kind of have like a little like a little holder, like a little bill holder where I put bills that need to be paid, right? So I know, okay, these are things that still need to be taken care of when they've been paid or taken care of. Then I move them to a file, right? Having a drawer with a kind of a file system. Okay, this is where I moved that, um, and as well as keeping everything else, right? I mean, I know as for me, like the older I've gotten, the more stuff we have, right? As we kind of go through life, there's a million financial documents and things we kind of have to stay on top of, right? We have accounts, different checking and savings accounts. We have maybe multiple credit cards, right? Our insurance, when's that due? The documents, they send the new ones every quarter, every year. Taxes, keeping track of everything you need for taxes. Any other type of loans you have, your retirement accounts, life insurance, wills, things like that, right? It's a lot to keep up with. I don't know if you guys ever get overwhelmed a little bit, but I know it certainly can be. So, sometimes we may feel like there's just stuff out there all the time, but getting all that information, creating a file system, right, for kind of each one of those things I talked about, and where it's all organized, it really can do wonders for, kind of stress level and kind of feeling, like you're kind of, unraveled a little bit, right? Keeping things nice and organized really does wonders. Um, so I mentioned filing and the bill filing system, and we have our online banking and bill pay as well. That's out there. I don't know if anybody out there also uses apps or anything like that. Maybe their online banking system. For what I like to do for us as well is, because I mentioned all those things, there's usually an online login for all of that stuff, right? So, I can't keep the passwords and the usernames right. So I use a password manager, like an app. It used to be KeyPass. There's a couple other different ones. I think the one I use now is called Strongbox. Yeah, Strongbox password manager. It's, not affiliated with the credit union. There are quite a few out there, so you can look in your app store or kind of do your own research, but it's so handy for keeping your information and login and all of that stuff together. It's on an app, on your phone. You could create a paper document if you wanted to, or save something to your PC if you wanted to. But in that, right, with the username and your passwords, also keep account numbers, the names of everything, maybe the website, right? So all that information is in one place. And it really is incredibly handy when stuff like, hey, I want to check, the kids' 529 college savings plan, or, the HSA balance or something, right? Where stuff that you don't typically check that often. Having that where you don't have to scramble to find stuff, you just boom, pull it up, saves a lot of time. So I'm a big fan of those. There's folders, spreadsheets, online banking apps, right? Computer software, whatever you prefer, whatever works best for your personality, right? You can kind of go out there and kind of play with and test some things out to see what you like best. Um, right, but the key is to kind of get everything together. And once we have all that information together, right, we've got all our debts and all our savings accounts and all that, then we want to assess it and calculate our net worth while we have our information together. It's a great time to do that. Okay. I don't know if anybody's ever done that before. If anyone here has recently calculated your net worth, be curious. I know it's kind of hard to see with interaction. I don't know if people can raise their hand or drop it in the chat or something, but um, right, calculating your net worth will give you a starting point, right? It'll help you identify whatever your most pressing problems are or prioritize whatever you want to focus on. And we do that by just simply adding up all of our assets, right? Our cash and our investments and, the value maybe of our home and car and things like that. And we get that total number. We take all our debts, right? Our credit cards, student loans, or mortgage or auto loan, add those together and subtract the debts from the assets, and then that gives you your net worth. This is another great way to kind of give you a one-page snapshot, right, of kind of your financial picture. Right? We're putting some numbers actually out there and making, doing the math on some of these things. And I'm happy to send, I think I've sent this out before, but I'm happy to resend it out to Amy after the webinar. Um, I use a spreadsheet often. I also use Delta Community has a personal money management tool in their online banking. I'm kind of playing with that and getting that up and running as well. But I also use a spreadsheet. And again, this is kind of illustration. You can use whatever you prefer. But it kind of keeps everything together like here. Once you list out, right, you have all your information, list out what all you have, right? If you have, your emergency fund savings, whatever type of accounts you have, just kind of put it in there. And it'll do all the kind of the math for you and give you a picture kind of what you're looking like financially here. Oh, more than that. So it's just kind of illustration, right? So once you put all this together, right, you can see what our cash or other assets are. Our unsecured and secured debt, kind of haven't broken down, right? Secured debt is just something with an asset tied to it, right? Like a car, house. Unsecured, credit card, student loan, or a personal loan. So it adds it all up here, gives us our net worth at the top, right? So, okay, cool. And when you do that, you can look and say, oh man, either, hey, I'm doing all right on debt, right? Not too bad, or hey, these credit card bills are a little more than maybe I thought when you add everything together. Maybe, hey, my emergency fund is not quite at 3 months of my expenses, so I need to update that. The amount of debt I have, right? Maybe unsecured debt here, credit cards, hey, that's kind of putting me at risk, and you really need to get that paid down, or maybe my, retirement account. My retirement savings isn't really where it needs to be. So, I really need to focus on that, right? So you can kind of see each kind of section, determine, oh, what do I want to kind of prioritize here and improve. So it's kind of a handy thing to kind of look at your situation. And right, so once you kind of identify that, right, then we can kind of decide what our goals will be. And once we look at where we're starting from, then we're going to decide, okay, this is where we're at. Where do we want to go? All right, and we're going to put a plan together to get there. If you are under a financial hardship and maybe you have too much debt and you're behind on debt payments or bills or something like that, just go through all the steps here. Go through, your net worth, your goals, your budget, and assessing everything before you make any quick, rash decisions. When you're stressed, sometimes it's kind of easy to make hasty financial decisions that may not be for the best. So if you're thinking of making any major decisions, right, like cashing out part of your retirement or taking on like a large amount of debt to kind of get you through something, right, just give yourself a little time, right? Let yourself sleep on it maybe a night or two or a few days, and really go through all the scenarios before making a huge financial move like that. Let me know if you guys have any questions on getting organized there. I'm a big fan of it. And now, right, once we've kind of decided, or once we've seen where we are and where we want to go, right, based on our goals, we assess our situation. Now we kind of need to make a plan to get there. All right. And this is where we want to revisit our budget. Or start a budget if you haven't started one already. I don't know, does anybody here currently do a budget? Or if you don't want to say budget, that's okay. You can call it a spending plan, a spending and savings plan. I know I mention this all the time, but budget sometimes has a negative connotation, right? It's like, hey, saying, yeah, I'm on a diet, or yes, I need to do laundry or clean the house. But really, right, it's just a spending plan. Just like a diet isn't a diet, it's a healthy lifestyle, right? A budget is really just a spending and saving plan for your lifestyle. All right. So it helps you, right? Instead of preventing you from doing things that you want to do, it allows you to do the things you want to do without feeling guilty about it, right? Because you've kind of planned out. And it's pretty easy. I won't go over the details of the steps. Most are probably familiar with it, but you determine what your income is, write down how much you take home every month. Then we go and look at how much we typically spend, right? Go look through our checking account and credit card statements, look at our different expense categories, and add up what we typically spend. Then we're going to reset that and we're going to decide, all right, we're going to match up the income and expenses to where we want them to be, to what we're kind of trying to achieve, right? So we may need to make some adjustments and make sure our income is kind of allocated and everything's kind of every dollar's, most dollars are kind of accounted for throughout these expenses. Um, Again, I have a budget that I'll be glad to send over. It's a spreadsheet here where you kind of set your budget. I think I've shown this before in previous webinars, but you set your budget on one tab and then you continue to track spending, right? It kind of, you put in your income and then just put in all your different expenses here and it does the calculations for you. But again, there's a lot of great tools out there like mint.com, is a free app. Again, not affiliated with Delta Community, but yeah, mint.com. Clearcheckbook.com is one. And like I said, if you wherever you bank, where your bank or credit union, their online banking system most likely has some type of money management or budgeting software in there that you can use as well. And it just kind of pulls from, right, your different transactions to put them in the different expense categories. All right. Um, so, once you kind of look through your budget and you look and see, okay, what do I typically spend on these different things, right? We'll want to decide, all right, how can we reduce some of these expenses, right? Especially if we want to, now's not a bad time, right? When times are uncertain, we want to kind of make sure we're trying to cut back as much frivolous spending as possible. Um, and that way, even if you're doing okay, if something bad does happen, then hey, we're prepared, we're planned for it. We have room in our spending plan where we can make sure, all of our major expenses are accounted for. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to prioritize the necessities, make sure those are covered, and then kind of go down the line with savings, debt payoff, and other wants or entertainment stuff like that. I do have another sheet I'm happy to send out. It's just something here kind of to help folks get organized. Let's say you're looking to cut some expenses out. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But here, right, we put in our income, right? In this part, we just put in $3,000 per month, and we go in and we look at, all right, what is our rent payment, right? So we write that down. What's our insurance payment? How much do we pay for all of our utilities, et cetera, right? I'm just kind of using random numbers. We put them in there. And so once we kind of know, right, you kind of know what we're spending now, then we'll go in and see where we can reduce some of those expenses at, right? Can I look at refinancing, switching apartments? Can I, get an insurance quote? All these different things, right? So maybe dining out. Some of the things may take, you contacting financial institutions or servicers and things like that. Some you can kind of do on a day-to-day basis, right? So we kind of see what we're spending and then look for ways to reduce that. It'll give us at the top kind of what we're saving. Um, yeah, maybe we spend, $600 or something, and we want to try and reduce that to 500. Right? Maybe we got an insurance quote that's only 200, things like that. Right? So it's gonna say, all right, where am I saving money at? Maybe I wasn't able to reduce that. Maybe that's 180 now, right? So kind of okay, cool. Now that I have this entered, I've cut some expenses. Okay, I got $140 extra a month based on these savings. Then we can decide, all right, what do I want? Where do I want to send that extra money, right? Do I need to pay down debt? Do I need to put more in my emergency fund and things like that? All right, so things you can do, right, to reduce costs. And if anybody out there has any good ideas, let me know. If there's something you do out there, I always love to hear other people's thoughts and tips. Um, but one thing we can do is meal planning. I know everybody says stop eating out, right? Don't get coffee every day, and that's important, right? But if you plan ahead a little bit, that can really it's hard to say, okay, yeah, I just won't do it, as opposed to, okay, if I plan ahead a little bit and maybe I go to the grocery store, have everything written out, take everything home, and I've made some maybe pre-made meals that I freeze. I make lunch for the next day. I know, some people may be working from home, some people not, but um, a little bit of planning of what you're going to eat, lunch, dinner, all that good stuff at the grocery store can go a long way towards saving money there. Maybe you want to look at your transportation costs. Um, Whether that is, nowadays, if there are some people that work from home, that could be saving a lot of money there in gas. You can maybe if you have a car, you purchase a newer car, you have a car payment. Do you need to look at refinancing that or trading that car in? Again, it'll kind of depend on your personal financial situation, but if you feel that your car payment is too high, now is not a bad time to trade a car in or sell a vehicle because of how much the prices have gone up, especially on used cars, right? Um, so hey, do I need to trade it in and get that payment reduced? Maybe I go pay cash for something, or something like that, more fuel efficient car. But it's usually the second biggest cost to people besides their house. You can shop insurance providers. I mention this a lot because I'm a big fan of getting an insurance assessment, an insurance quote every year or two. I don't know if anybody out there has done this in the past year, gotten a quote, but typically, in the past, I've actually been able to save a good amount of money. There's a lot of other people I've spoken to who have as well. Insurance providers don't often, lower rates the longer you have them. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that typically kind of go up. Here in, with the pandemic, they actually have gone down a little bit. I think over the past 2 years, my insurance has gone down by about 15 bucks a month, with a couple of reductions there, as people aren't driving as much, right? So, but if you feel like if you haven't shopped around in a while, it's very easy. You can get a quote. You can go to the major carriers. They're all online. Delta Community does offer members insurance advisors, and they're a broker. They're not an actual insurance agency. They're a subsidiary of Delta Community. If you're interested in a quote, you can contact them. They take your information. You fill everything out online. They submit it to multiple carriers, right? All A or A plus rated carriers. They come back with a quote, make sure everything's matched up as far as your policies. Um, and then, hey, if it saves you money, great. You can transfer over. If not, right, you can say no, thank you, no obligation, no cost. You can kind of be on your way, right? So, for something that doesn't have a cost or obligation, it could be a good way to save money. The past 5, 6 years, I mentioned I've switched over a couple times, and I think I've saved anywhere from 40 to 60 bucks each time per month. So that's a pretty good savings, especially if your driving record's pretty good and your credit score is in pretty decent shape, right? Then you might have a good shot at reducing those insurance costs. Or you can even contact your current provider. Just review your policy. Make sure there's like no riders on there or anything you're not using, um, and things like that. If you have a saved up emergency fund, right, you feel pretty good about the amount of cash you have, then maybe you can increase your deductible, right? Instead of 500, you go to 1,000, because I know if an accident happens, I'll have that money to cover it. And by doing that, it'll reduce the amount you pay in your monthly premium. So just something to kind of consider there. Um, Evaluate your cell phone plan as well. Take a look at that. If you need to cut cost, can you switch providers? Can you, trade in for an older phone or refurbished phone? Things like that. Analyze like all the components of the bills. Are is there anything on there you're not using? Is it unlimited data needed or not? But it's somewhere to look at. Same for kind of cable and streaming, which you can do as well. Um, and utility providers now, is typically a time where people are kind of switching over their gas bill, their natural gas bill. And so if you do that right, if you've been with somebody, look around and see the competitors. Are they offering promotions or great rates? You can use that as a leverage toward your existing biller and see what they offer. It never hurts to call them, ask what they can do. Sometimes, it's easy to submit it online, but if you call and ask what they may have and be kind and open, then you never know. They may have discounts for you, especially if, you're a military, teacher, retired, or part of any organization or something like that. Um, did I don't know if anybody's heard of budget billing. Have you guys ever heard of budget billing? That's another thing that people do. A lot of people I've talked, I haven't done it yet myself, but I've talked to several people who have, and they seem to really like it. So let's say you want your bill to be more steady, right? Every month, more predictable, then, as opposed to, right, like the electric bill where it's, you know, $982 in the summer and $50 in the winter, right? Um, or you get those peaks and valleys, especially here in the state of Georgia, it gets so hot. And same with gas, right? Let's say you kind of want a better plan. You can contact your utility provider, ask about budget billing. Most of them offer that to where they kind of take the average of what you typically pay. They probably forecast some things as well. And then they average it out through the course of 12 months. And so it'll be the same amount you pay each month based on their, projections and past usage. They'll kind of come up with that monthly number for you. And you can lock that in and hey, my electric bill is going to be the same every month, right? As opposed to if something happens. But just something to inquire about. That's interested. Contact them. Make sure you read all the fine print stipulations as well. I don't know what would happen if, like, hey, you locked into budget billing. But hey, I'm in budget billing, and then you just cranked the AC down to like 60 degrees, just kept it running 24 hours a day. I would imagine there's some sort of fail safe in there, so that if someone just goes ham on the electric or water or gas bill, that they're not gonna rip them off. So again, read all the fine print in there, but it can be very handy, right? So. And ditch unused memberships or digital subscriptions. Look through your accounts. Everything's a membership nowadays, right? It used to be like the shave thing came out, and then now everything, what dog food, clothes, pets, literally almost anything that you buy can be a subscription service now. So just kind of look through that. Make sure there's nothing being used. Ask yourself, have I used this product, recently? Do I have a need for this product? And do I have anything that already exists that can be used in place of it? Right? You can ask yourself those three questions if you need something or not. But my recommendation is if you haven't used it in a while, it might be time to ditch it, right? Save the cash. And then consider coupons, rebate sites, right? Do a little extra work out there to go online, go through social media, newspaper sites, Kroger, Target, Publix, right? They all have coupons. You can download like a retailer's app, right? And a little bit of extra work can save you money when you're spending. There's rebate sites like Rakuten, Ibotta, places like that. If you're shop on Amazon, Camel, Camel, Camel. I don't know if you guys have heard that before. It's like a price history of things where you buy on Amazon. You can use it, plug it in, and it'll say, "Hey, I'm looking for a, I don't know, hair dryer, right? I need a new hair dryer, and right now it's $50, but is it ever cheaper, or is now a good price? Will it go higher, right? You can look through Camel, Camel, Camel to tell you Like, hey, this brand hair dryer, yeah, this price, right, is good, bad, or historically where it typically tends to move, has seasonal price movements and stuff. Um, so something to consider there, like barcode scanners. You can scan barcodes when you're out shopping. It'll tell you the price of things at other locations. So there's a lot of technology you can use these days that'll help you make good spending decisions. And then two is free entertainment, right? Library, volunteer somewhere. We don't have to always spend a bunch of money. I know things are kind of opening up now to where they were, but I don't know, you can always do stuff out there to kind of save money. And look at your bank accounts and your credit as well. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but make sure you're not paying a monthly service fee for your checking account, or have those crazy stipulations. Make sure, hey, is my savings account, getting an okay interest rate? What's my interest rate on my credit card? Could it be lower? Things like that. So just make sure you're not paying fees and things like that for your financial services. All right. Let me know if someone mentioned they wanted a copy of the budget spreadsheet. For sure, I'll drop that or I'll send that over to Amy afterwards. Yeah, thank you. Let me know if anyone else has any questions out there so far. No tips, no savings tips. Let me know. I like to hear them. Oh, all right. So once we've got our snapshot of our finances or the net worth. We've set some goals of what we want to do, right? Pay down debt, save more retirement. We're making a plan, right, with our budget. I don't know if I mentioned that, but when you do create your budget, no, man, I don't have to go all the way through that. Right, when you create your budget, don't forget to put in those goals. I don't think I mentioned that. There's not anything in here because it's mostly expenses and spending, but include your savings, right? Your savings goals and debt payoff and all of that good stuff. Because here it is here, right? Because you have debt payments and savings, right? Those are expenses, right? Because it's coming from your income to an account. So we're including, like, especially savings, right? We're including that in the expense. If we take the savings out of our account, right, to then use, right? Maybe we had a holiday account. We saved up a few $100. Now we're going to use it to pay for Christmas items or whatever. Savings transfer out, right? Count that as income, right? Income into savings is expense, right? This kind of makes sense. So, right. So we have our plan to achieve those goals. We're looking for ways to reduce our spending. All right. We also want to evaluate our savings and debt as well. So when you're looking at savings, right, we want to make sure that we have enough in there to cover any, downturn or financial emergency that may happen. Building an emergency fund in lean times isn't easy, but even a cushion of a few $100 can be very helpful to stave off, disaster or, going in further to debt. So, even start with something small if you're not quite there yet. Essentially, and I'm sure most people have heard this already, but you want to have 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in a savings account as an emergency fund. Um, and so that's expenses, right? So we go back and look at our previous expenses, multiply that, our monthly expenses, multiply that times 3, right? And that's about how much we want to have, 3 to 6, right? So, I have expenses of $2,500 a month, then I need, 7,500 to $15,000, somewhere in there of an emergency fund, right? In case something happens to my income, right? I'll be okay for a few months, and be able to cover, bills and rent and food and everything until, I can kind of get back on my feet. So assess what you have in there now. Calculate, right, how long it would last, right, by looking at those expenses. So you kind of know, all right, well, there's this much in, what could I cut out of my budget, bare necessities if something did happen to my income? All right, about how long could I go, right? Try to anticipate, right, will you need to use it? What type of scenarios might come up where you would need to draw on it, right? So you kind of know how much you want to get to, right? So once we kind of decide, all right, this is what I need to save for, this is how much I need to have in there. Some ways you can kind of bolster that, right, is look for bonuses, tax refunds, right? Again, it's that time of year that's coming up. Right when you take any type of windfalls you may receive, those are great ways you can add to it. I like to make deposits automatic. So if you don't, you can either, usually most people are allowed to set up to 3 different direct deposits through ADP or whatever payroll system that you use. And so, I have a couple going into, I set X amount of dollars here and there with the remaining paycheck going right into checking, right? That makes it easy. Or you can set up transfers right in your online banking if you don't already. Where I have a few accounts for some kids. I have two plus my niece, and so I set it up where, all right, this gets deposited on this date. X amount of dollars is going to each one of these accounts, and it's already done for me. I don't have to waffle on, hey, do I want to do this or not, or like an emergency fund, like, hey, I'm going to put this much in there, and if you set it up to go right, it's going in, and then it kind of takes away that having to remember, takes away that that little bit of seed, and maybe I'll just keep it this month and not transfer it over, right? But it just makes it easy. Um, I really recommend using buckets as well, or having multiple savings accounts for different purposes, right? That's the key. You can name them, have different purposes. So, right, our main emergency fund, maybe we need our travel fund, our home improvement, right? Whatever those goals we had, we want to buy a car, want to buy a house, right? Maybe we set up a separate account to funnel money into that so we can keep track of it, view our progress, separate it out from our other spending, right? So we're not tempted to use it. And all that, right? And that makes things a lot more organized and easy. And you can see it's kind of the theme, right? We're trying to make things automated, trying to make things organized. It goes a long way, right, to pushing us up with our finances. So, big fan of that as well. Or you can use too small, like um, there's been a lot of studies out there that show larger number of savings. I'm trying to save more. Sometimes people are apprehensive or feel they can't do it. There's a study that showed, hey, if people were asked if they wanted to save 150 bucks a month or $5 a day, and they are overwhelmingly able to save $5 a day, or those who did that were able to save more than those who did the 150 bucks a month, right? But they're both the same amount, right? $5 a day, 30 days is 150 bucks. But because it felt more manageable, right? More bite-sized chunks at a time, people were able to save a little bit more. Is that something you may want to consider as well? I know I'm bad about that, right? That's probably my spending weakness. It's only $5, $6. Yeah, we'll get it. Avoid the small impulse buys, right? So assess your savings, right? Make your plan, incorporate that into your goals to build it up where you need to be. Then we want to look at our debt, right? Everybody's favorite. I know debt can cause some people to kind of act like ostriches, right? Sometimes, right? If I don't know it's there, then it can't hurt me, maybe, right? But really, that's the last thing we want to do. If we want to get rid of debt, um, and we do if we have debt, you definitely want to, then we have to make a plan for it. And that involves knowing what we have, all of our information, right? Our who we owe, how much we owe, interest rates, the type of debt, when everything's due, all of that good stuff. And so I think we did how to manage debt webinar before, so I won't go too in detail, but if you're interested, let me know. I'm happy to provide those resources. Basically, you can create a plan to pay down debt if you need to, whether you line your debts up in order of smallest balance to the highest and attack the smallest balance first, right, while making the minimums on the other, pay off that first debt, roll that payment into the minimum payment of the next highest, so on and so forth. Or you can do the same thing with the highest, starting with the highest interest rate first, right? Mathematically more feasible. Or I'm sorry, well, mathematically will save you more money, right? Where you go highest interest rate debt, we attack that with everything we have, and then roll into the next one and next one. The smallest balance is known as a snowball, made famous by Dave Ramsey. People tend to stay more motivated that way because they see their progress. But again, like I said, avalanche, where you go with the highest interest rate first, will technically save you the most money. Just know if you have the willpower either way. but we want to know what we're dealing with. We look for ways to maybe lower our interest rate, right? How can we get it paid down faster? We have a plan in place. Um, but we also want to, hey, can we contact our creditors and ask if they can lower our rate? Um, you can, and it doesn't, you can do that on your own for free, right? They may be able to do it without doing a hard inquiry on your credit. You can ask that first. You can look, right, if your credit's in pretty good shape, then you probably be more likely to look at like a balance transfer to lower the rate, maybe a loan consolidation. If anybody is kind of unfamiliar with that, is where we take like maybe unsecured debts, high interest rate debts like credit cards and things like that, and we take out a personal loan. It can come in the form of just an unsecured personal loan, home equity line of credit. You can even use your car as collateral, right? Where we take out that personal loan and then pay off those credit card debts with that personal loan. And now we only have that one payment to that personal loan, which is right going to be the same interest rate and same monthly payment from month to month. And a lot of times people may be able to lower their rates, have a consistent payment. But again, you'll need the income, you'll need the credit standing to apply for something like that. There are debt management plans you can utilize, but if you feel like you're kind of taking a hit with your credit history, your credit score, but just know debt management plans, right? They go through a third party, a nonprofit organization most of the time. We offer one through our partner Balance, um, but most of the time, right? It's noted as they work with like the creditors, say, hey, we're gonna working with this person to get them the debts paid off. They may ask to re-age the accounts if you have any late accounts. But a lot of times they'll make you close those accounts if they go under the debt management plan as well. So and it'll notate on your credit report that this is being paid through a debt management plan. So just be aware of all those types of things before you go into one of those. And you can contact your creditors, right? If you need assistance, contact we're here to help. If you're struggling for payments, contact let us know, let your bank know your situation, your income situation. Just kind of be prepared to kind of explain, hey, this is what's going on. And most people will do what they can to work with folks. All right. So I'll show you some resources kind of where you can look at the end as well. But know what you have available too. If you feel like you're pretty good in debt, your debt situation is pretty good, right? Maybe you only have a mortgage or only have a car loan or something, doing pretty good with the credit cards or any other loans. You can assess and see, what do you have available? The sky does fall. What resources can I utilize in the event of some major catastrophe, right? And do this very carefully. We don't want to draw in unless it's kind of a last, um, kind of a last case scenario, basically. I think I'm saying that right, but is to go into more debt. That's one of the last things we want to do is to go into more debt. But knowing what you have can at least kind of give you a little peace of mind when there's kind of economic uncertainty, what your credit limits are, your interest rates, is your car in good shape, is it paid off? Like I mentioned, you can borrow against your vehicle's equity, right? If you consider an auto loan, maybe a little bit lower interest rate than just an unsecured loan or a credit card. What's the equity in your home? Do you have any value in that? Things like that. And look at it in rehearsal. Look at those loans. There's a way to improve them, right? Um, how long have you had your mortgage? Are you paying private mortgage insurance? Has your home gone up in value where you could refinance it into a new loan at a lower rate while removing the PMI? That could save a nice bit of money, right? Especially if you've been in your house for a few years with the way home prices has increased. Rates are still really good as well. Same on vehicle loans. Can you refinance it to save a few bucks as well? Home equity, what value do I have? Can I use my home equity to take out a loan and pay off some of this other debt, right? Kind of roll it into the home, kind of start fresh, right? Just, carefully consider these different options. I'm going to throw in a credit calculator too in the chats. Hopefully that works. Maybe. There it is. Um, There it is. I put that in the chat. I really recommend using your credit calculator, right? Assess your debts, know what you have. And there's a link to Balance, right? Balance is our free service, right? We offer. They do financial counseling. It's free to Delta community members. There's a co-branded website that's free to anyone, member or not, with a lot of great resources, calculators, toolkits, articles, and cool stuff like that, right? So, um, all right. So, kind of the last little bit here is right. We get this a lot sometimes, or I get this question often. Is like, what do I prioritize? Like, yeah, I need more in my emergency fund, but I also need to pay down debt, right? Where, but I only have, a limited amount of money coming in. What should I prioritize first? Um, and so, a good rule would be to kind of at least start. And I think Dave Ramsey mentions this a good bit too. It's kind of part of his whole debt management system. Dave Ramsey's pretty good for paying down debt and budgeting. He's got a pretty militant, disciplined view of some of that stuff. I don't agree with everything, but it is really having an emergency fund first, right? At least having that, building that cushion first to prevent yourself from going further into debt is kind of key. So try to save up maybe $1,000, maybe 500 if you don't already, or if you can, maybe a 1 month's expenses, right? At least got a month under your belt. And then once you have that built up, then let's look at our high interest rate debt, right? Anything that's unsecured, like a credit card, I'm not paying over 12, 15, 20%, right? For something, we get that gone as fast as we can. And then once we've kind of done that, right? Then we may look at, okay, let's fund our emergency. Let's get that cash up there and fund our emergency fund. Make sure there's any other goals. Look at our retirement. Now's a good time to assess your retirement savings. Are there, the markets have been a little choppy. Again, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a certified financial planner. So I do recommend speaking to someone who is a certified financial planner professional. If you guys, I think you guys have a 401k. Usually, right, that servicer, whether it's like Vanguard or Fidelity or something like that, usually they have representatives, and they have a great amount of information there. So I'd recommend seeking them out, or at least check out their website and kind of look at your options there. Do you need to rebalance things? Do I need to add more? Am I on track? Am I not? Going through some of those things to determine whether you're 20 years old or 60. I'd recommend doing it. Speaking to somebody about it, but it could be, the market's been kind of volatile, right? What's your risk tolerance? And kind of, do we need to change some things there? All right, so just kind of be aware of that. And then two, hey, if you get things like a windfall, bonus, tax refunds, gifts, all that stuff, decide where we want to prioritize that. Essential bills, do I have things that need to be paid off or brought current? And then, hey, am I going to do cash or debt? All right, remember, your emergency fund, you want to be in cash, like in a savings account or a money market account, is not there to be invested, right? We draw on it if we need it and then replenish it. We need easy access there. All right. If you guys have any questions. I don't know if y'all can see this. I know we're about out of time here. But this is kind of a spending flow chart for folks. I'm happy to include this as well. I know it's not very clear. It's kind of small writing. But it kind of gives you a path, right, to prioritize your income and your spending. It says create budget. Really what you want to do is do net worth and goal. Know your goals first. But then, yes, we create a spending plan. Basically, make sure our necessities are covered, right? Roof over our head, groceries, any other essential items needed. Make sure our earning income expenses are covered as well, because we got to get to our job. We got to be able to do our job, right, to keep the income in. Healthcare, then we follow that. Make sure healthcare costs are covered, all right, because that's super important as well. We all know how expensive healthcare can be. Then, hey, am I able to cover any minimum payments with the remaining balance, right, remaining income? Make sure I'm able to make any minimum payments on all debts and loans, all right, the minimums. Then, hey, whatever remaining, I'm gonna focus on building that small emergency fund, right? Whether it's $1,000 or months, whatever it is, we got to get to that. Then, can I look at, right? Can I cover any non-essential stuff, right? Entertainment, cable, phone's probably a necessity these days, especially an income earning necessity, but not essential stuff like that. Then I want to spend that. Then making sure those are covered. Then, hey, does your employer offer a match? And if so, right, contribute, if they do, contribute at least to the match, right? Because that's so powerful in helping you build retirement savings. Um, I really encourage you guys to look at that and contribute that match if you don't already. Then we kind of look at, okay, now we're going to look at the high interest rate debts, determine our method of payoff, et cetera. We get the high interest stuff, then emergency fund, moderate debt, stuff like that, et cetera, kind of like I mentioned. So there's kind of a way to help prioritize. It's not a one size fits all. It doesn't apply to everyone. Everyone's financial situation is different, but it can be kind of helpful, right? When you're kind of, well, should I put the money toward this or this first? What do I need to prioritize here? So, and lastly, I'll include this as a handout when I'll send this over to Amy tomorrow or this afternoon, and let you guys know, hey, these are some resources that you can access. Let's say let's say you need a little assistance, or you're just kind of curious what's out there. Homeowners and renters' rights and assistance, right? A federal housing finance agency is there. I think HUD as well, housing or Department of Housing and Urban Development um, has some information, right? If you're kind of wondering, hey, is there anything I can do to help with mortgage payments or federal, housing and stuff like that? Student loans, Sallie Mae, or studentaid.gov is a great resource. If anyone does have student loans, you're probably aware that the payments were postponed due to the pandemic, and now they're about to start coming back due after January 31st, 2022. All right. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a great resource as well to just guidance and help. They just kind of have access to a lot of different savings, credit, insurance, all that good stuff. And then Federal Trade Commission, FTC, you're kind of curious, right, of any scams that may be out there, identity theft, any new scams that's out there. They're a great resource for that, right? There's never a pandemic that a thief doesn't take advantage of somehow, right? So we have to be extra careful. And then the Treasury Department, right? Treasury.gov has a list of COVID-19 economic relief, kind of what they've done and what they're continuing to do with links and stuff like that to different programs that are out there as well. Like I mentioned, if you're a Delta community member, we have a member assistance program. It's completely based on the individual and their situation, but if a member causes they need like a loan, skip a payment on a loan or a payment holiday on a loan, we'll look at that. Are they having financial hardship where we need to um, right, maybe adjust the interest rate or the term of the loan or something like that. We'll also look at that and try to do that if we're able to, because we don't want members to just give up, not pay, and then that wrecks their credit. Of course, the credit union, it ends up going into written off for us, collections and stuff. No one wants that situation. So we try to do what we can, within reason to assist our members. Right? If you don't bank with us, check with your financial institution as well. So, um, and then lastly, right, remember, just take action. We're going to get organized. Organization is key. You will feel better. I give you the Ryan guarantee that you will feel better and less stressed when you are organized. We're going to identify any issues or problems or priorities we want to address, set those as goals, get a spending plan in place or a budget. Look at our current spending. Where can we reduce that? Evaluate our savings. How can we increase it if we need to? Are we doing okay? Manage our debt, getting all of our debts and creditors lined up, making sure we're getting any unsecured high interest debt paid down as fast as possible. Are there any assistance resources we can utilize? And then don't forget to take a little bit of time on your own, right? Managing money can be stressful. It can, take a little bit of time here and there. It's a big part of our lives. And I know, especially the past couple of years, people are more stressed than ever. A lot of statistics on that, I know. Look for some time for yourself, right? Um, you know, uh, try to enjoy a little leisure time. Maybe you write down, right? Maybe write down how's your family navigating these challenging times, right? What's been surprising to you? What's your silver lining? What are you thankful for, right? Being a little bit of gratitude can go a long way sometimes. And then remember, last inspirational quote here: lean times, right? They force financial introspection. So if you've gone through a hardship, right? Any type of hardship. Don't let it discourage you, right? It's a learning experience. You will come out wiser. You will come out smarter, especially financially. You will build good habits you can then use for the rest of your life because we've learned some things of what to do, what not to do, and then focus on the positive, right? That positive thing goes a long way, right? Well, Nietzsche quote: "Those that which does not kill us makes us stronger." And then I mentioned, I'll include this as a handout, balance, right, access. The website there can be accessed by anyone. Financial counselors and coaches are available for free to any Delta community members. And then, of course, our website as well. Let us know. So, and I do, hold on, let me put up one more thing. Chris will be mad if I don't share this. If you're not a Delta community, hopefully, Amy, this is okay with you. If you're not a Delta community member, we would love to have you as a member. There's no real money to get started. You can join us, see what you like. There's a bonus here. So because you work for Cox Automotive, we are offering an additional $150 cash bonus for opening a Delta Community checking account. You have 10 days to do so, right? So if you open a checking account, and you will have to open a savings at the same time, but you can put your $5 in there. And if you want to use it, great. If not, it's not mandatory for the bonus. But hey, checking account, make $500 in deposits over the course of 60 days, and then make 10 Visa card swipes over 60 days. You will give you your $150. There's really a pretty good stipulation, honestly, as far as requirements go for cash bonuses. That one's pretty light compared to a lot of the stuff I've seen out there. And then some additional info and stuff like that. You can go here, deltacommunitycu.com/Cox. And that will, I'm gonna drop that in the site there, and you can get started. So let me know any questions for me. Feel free to let me know. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm 2 minutes over. I'm sorry.
No problem, Ryan. If anyone has any questions, you can just unmute, or you can drop them in the chat. I did have Charles earlier say that he had to drop out, but if you would include the budget spreadsheet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'll send that. I'll include this with a handout and the budget spreadsheet. I'll send over to you. I guess that works well, and then you can kind of forward it on to anybody interested.
Yep, and I'll send a follow-up email. Just a little kind of testimony of myself. I recently got another personal loan with Delta Community Credit Union, and this time I applied online, and it was even during the holidays, and it was done very thoroughly and really fast. So always a great time to really look at your credit and know that also, and your debts, and know that there are ways to help you through. It can feel really overwhelming, but this team does a great job on supporting, and this credit union does a great job at supporting its members. And I feel like I've been able to really conquer a lot of my debt, and noting that, wellness is not just physical. That's why we have you guys on here all the time. Wellness and health stems in every single aspect: financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, all. So that's why, we really like to encompass and have you guys with us, is that we're looking to really lead the way in every area of health and wellness. So thank you so much, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad you had a good experience. I'm so glad we were able to assist in any way we can. And yeah, you're absolutely right, right? Trying to stay organized, simplify, manage your financial stress. It affects a lot of aspects of our life, for sure. Big part of life, right? So yeah, and you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Anytime, I'm always happy to speak to anyone. So yeah, if anyone does have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to myself. I'll include Chris's contact info. I know he was sad he couldn't make it, but yeah, if there's anything we can do in the future, just let us know. So.
Sounds great. And we'll be sure to follow up with you guys and send you the notes and all the other tools that was covered today, as well as the recording if you want to watch it at another time or forward it to a friend or family member of yours. You can definitely do that too. So thanks again, you guys,
Awesome.
for joining.